My new book, Pillars for Life, A Guide to Spiritual Ethics and Practice, is now out and available for you to read and purchase. You can check out our website, willowhealing.org, to find a link, or you can find it on Amazon. We look forward to getting your feedback, and if you love it, please leave a review and share with your friends. Now it's time for the show. Welcome to Willow Healing Matters, the podcast. We are so excited to have you joining us on this journey where we explore different ways to empower your soul, whether it's healing in your kitchen or all the way up in the corporate world. Come with us as we look into different ways to heal your mind, body, and soul. Hey everyone, it's Catherine Cristani with another episode of Willow Healing Matters, and today I'm joined by the lovely Mechelle Wingle. She is a passionate advocate for holistic healing, emotional wellness, and spiritual growth. As the founder of the Wholeness Network, Mechelle has created a library of videos, guided meditations, and more from experts around the globe that combines the wisdom of ancient healing practices with therapeutic models to help individuals reconnect with their inner power and live with greater purpose and peace. So a big welcome to the show, Mechelle, and I'm excited to hear about this network.
Thanks so much. Yeah, I'm excited to share. It has been kind of my passion project. And when we started, the thought of wholeness wasn't really much of a thing. When you would Google it, nothing really came up. And now you hear it all the time. But so I'm a champion of wholeness, which to me has kind of, and actually, according to Google, has two definitions. One is that we are in process of becoming whole, and in a state of wholeness all the time. So I think that really beautifully describes the human experience. Yes, we have things to learn. Yes, we have places, that we want to grow to and expand to. And yet we're always whole in every moment. I love comparing it to like an apple. Like the apple seed is a whole seed. It's not an apple, but it's a whole. It contains all the wholeness, and it's all that it needs to be in that moment. And then as it's a little bud, and being and the bees are coming in. Yeah, and it's like it's whole. Then it's like it's whole throughout the whole process. And I think if we could learn to accept that about ourselves, then I think we live in a more self-loving state, and then we're able to be love for others. And to me, that's the idea of healing. It's to feel good. That's as simple as that, to feel good. And when I feel good, I am able to show up in the world and help others feel good. Does that make sense? So
100%. For me, it's like there can be, I know I'm in alignment when I still feel at peace despite all the chaos happening around me. And, you can still show up as yourself despite feeling like crap or whatever it might be, because you know that you're kind of aligned with yourself, and that just in that moment, I'm going to show up at 100% at my 20%, and
yep,
that can be enough. Yeah.
that can be enough. And the thing is that it doesn't, there's no way to have someone else come and say that's enough. That has to come from the inside. And what's amazing to me is when I say that's enough, other people accept it. Do you know what I mean? Other people are like, oh, okay. I'm like, this is my 100%. Instead of trying to fake 100, I say, I'm at 20% today, but Of give you 100% of that. I usually get a much kinder, accepting answer than if I'm trying to fake it, but I think that we're kind of ingrained to fake it, to make it, to push through and to not have whatever's happening in our life happening, those things that hold us back. And that's part of this human experience. That's part of what makes, our self grow and expand is those tough things, even though that doesn't mean we have to love them.
Well, I guess it's that polarity, right? Like people think, forget that love and hate are on the same spectrum.
Right.
You can still hate somebody and love somebody at the same time. And, it's interesting because when you start to pull apart the emotion of hate, and people will run away from it, right? It's like, you're allowed to hate things. And you're like,
Yeah.
I hate Brussels sprouts. I genuinely hate Brussels sprouts. I'm not going to love them. I hate them, but I also respect that they're really good for people
Right.
who like
Right.
them.
Right.
And it's not, and at the same time, sometimes we love our spouses no matter what,
For
but we
sure.
can also hate them in moments. The same with
Yeah.
our children.
Yeah.
So-
Yes. What you're bringing up is I'm in the middle of my second certification to become an IFS coach. Do you know what IFS is? It's
Yes,
called,
I had a
yes.
guest a few weeks ago. Yeah,
Oh,
beautiful.
good. Yeah.
Internal family systems. Yes.
Yes. And that's what I love about this model is that it really accentuates those parts. It lets us have both parts and that's the normal thing. And that really our struggle is when we're trying to narrow it down and to be, we're trying to decide. We do more damage when we're trying to say, oh, I should like it. It's fine. There's so much energy that gets spilt trying to fit two different parts of ourselves into the one. And that's the thing when you think about wholeness, it does include hate.
Mm.
It includes it
Anger,
all. It's all.
sadness,
Yeah.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know I've had this conversation with some previous guests where what's with this bad emotion rap? It's like it's not a bad
Right.
emotion. It's just there to give you feedback on what's happening in your system.
Right. Sometimes I'll call them non-preferred. It's like I would prefer to not be insecure right now, but that's the thing is like I remember I was volunteering at a kind of a conference and I was volunteering and doing like mini sessions for people. I think they just said do what you do, and so I had my table there, like my massage table, and I was doing like some Reiki and some emotional healing. And I had this man come in and he was this older gentleman and he says, I need you to make sure my anger is gone. And he says, I was working with someone yesterday and I think she got it gone, but I've got to make sure it is gone. And I was just like, I just don't know. Because like you say, when it fits on the spectrum, then you're going to pull the whole thing out. You're going to pull the other end. You're going to pull pleasure. You got the pain and pleasure. You're going to anger and joy, whatever that is. And, and I kind of sat there for a minute like, okay, I've only got a few minutes because they were 20-minute sessions. But as I worked with him and had him really accept his anger, I mean, he
Yeah.
obviously lived in a family where they, the patriarch of the home was, and he wasn't that, but he needed, he was angry that he was a grown man and had to do what his dad wanted him to do because that's the way their culture
Relationship.
was.
Yeah.
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 And it was like, yeah, that would make anybody angry to
Yeah.
not have your own decisions. I don't know if that's a wrong emotion to have. Let's actually go to that anger part, and this is more IFS, and let's see what it has to say and what does it need and how can we support it. And we can't always change the exterior, but we can for sure validate what's going on the inside. And there's magic in that. There's really magic in allowing ourselves to really be ourselves. And I think that we don't think we're supposed to, or it doesn't come naturally or something like that. But it's time. I think that's the biggest thing the happenings within is how we can feel better about the things that are out. And I'll tell you, I was one of the first people that in my life that would say, no way, please just fix everything out there. I'm really suffering, and I can appreciate that feeling. I can appreciate that feeling. So that's why we just start to let some of those things come up. Let's just explore that anger and see what it is. Let's just allow it to be and then see what happens. Because your anger doesn't need to disrupt me. If it does, that's something I got to do. There's a little trailhead to where I need to, look at some things. Now, if you're yelling at me and, accusing me, I still, and I take care of myself in the way I best can. But that's usually not how it goes. That's usually not how it normally is. Usually we decide, we don't want to bother people or we don't want to give them our anger or blah, 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 blah. And sometimes that's what causes the anger because we're not sticking up for ourselves. So in IFS, we have parts of us and we say, we want to learn to speak for our parts, just not from those parts. Cause we get, maybe we're in a dysregulated state. And when we're dysregulated, there's parts of our brain that turns off it's got to do some other things. That's being in the state of trauma. And so maybe it doesn't happen quite then, but later on, if there's like, hey, I need to circle back and say, that was very hard on me. And maybe I need a little of this, and you begin to work with the people around you to meet each other's needs on that deep level. But it needs to come. It's much more empowering when we ask for what we need. That's another thing I work with clients a lot is it's like, what are your needs and wants? And to understand that that's what makes you unique. Everybody has the same needs, but those wants are what makes you an individual. And so they're very important, very valuable. And we need to stop and think about that for a minute. But people, well, I don't, they're nervous about these wants because I would want 1,000 things. And it's like, yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
Wanting is another one that's, I mean, it's almost banned, like anger, for women at least.
Yeah, and I feel it's such an important point you brought up there, Michelle, because anger is one of those emotions, the more you push it down, the more it erupts. Like it
Yeah.
so erupts.
Yeah.
And, it's a forceful emotion. You have to meet it. You can't say, I'm angry. No,
Hmm.
you have to stomp your feet. You have to match the energy. You have to get it
Yes.
out. And one of the most powerful things someone said to me was like, you need to make friends with your anger. Because I was angry, like there
Mm-hmm.
was a lot of things I was angry about. And I know because my liver was not happy. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where your anger comes from. And I was like, oh, okay. All right. Let's make friends with it. So yeah, I get angry and then it goes, like you said,
Yeah.
you,
You
you
express it.
find exactly. And then the other aspect of that is, accepting that you're allowed to have those emotions and wants, because if you don't have wants, how do you have hopes and dreams? And then how
Right.
do you aspire and help your soul evolve? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's like we've been conditioned to stay in this complacent 9 to 5 job and think that we have to work incredibly hard to earn anything, especially in America and Australia, that
Mm-hmm.
we have to work really, really hard, that we have to work every day of our life till we die, essentially, and then pass that on to our children when they die. That's kind of
Mm-hmm.
the cycle we're being conditioned to believe, that we have to stay
Mm-hmm.
in and we have to respect our parents and do what our parents tell us to do. But when you unpack it, it's like, why?
Mm-hmm.
Why
Right.
do I have to do that? Why can't I do what my heart is pulling me to do?
Yeah. And even another question is, how does it feel
Yeah,
that that's the way that it is?
exactly.
Like when you pause and think, we just kind of move through the motions, but like, what do I think about this? And I guarantee you, probably some anger will come up, because, and it's just more about really being authentic with what is. Just,
Mm.
and maybe you do the same thing. Maybe you show up the same way, but it's coming from this authentic place because you're choosing in rather than having life throw you around, and it's maybe seems like a scary step to take, but I guarantee you it's the journey. It's ups and downs, but it's liberating to get to the other side where I'm now living my own life.
Exactly. And to reclaim yourself, it's like really, really powerful to be able to come back to you and go, actually, I'm living my life the way I want, even if no one understands it. And that takes courage. You
Mm-hmm.
can't, it's not something, it's just a thing I've learned too. Like, you're not born with courage. You have to learn to be courageous. And it's through your steps and actions to honor yourself that true courage can come.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and some days it shows up fiercely, and other days it's a little timid, and you work with what you've got. So those days that it's timid, what do I need to do today then? Maybe I don't go and do some big grand courageous thing for a minute.
Yes.
Maybe I take some time and move in and do some inner healing, inner work to feel good, to kind of protect myself and feel, not protect maybe like in the defensive way, but maybe just go in and see what I really need. Like, what's going on? Let me take some time to see what my parts are asking of me, what's showing up, and then believe it. Believe yourself, which is the second
Yeah.
part that's kind of hard.
Yeah, and that self-belief, we could unpack all that in so many layers, right? Like it's just
Yeah. Yeah.
but the question that keeps echoing in my head, Michelle, is that how did you come to creating this whole why can't I get it out? Wholeness Network. And you said it's your passion project, but what inspired you and what was kind of your journey to come to that?
Well, it's interesting. I'm hitting about my 10th year, but it really started in about 2008. Um, Me and my husband are born on the same day. We were born in the same hospital. And we're both from the US, but my sister was over in Japan and he was living there. His dad worked for the Air Force, and they actually met and said, "Oh, you guys have the same birthday. You should date," because he was from where I'm from. So when he came back, we ended up starting college, and we were in the same college class together. So we're talking like this is like made in heaven relationship. This is like
Destiny defined.
oh,
Yeah.
like the movies wouldn't even believe it, right? Like it was crazy. And I even told you the short version. So we get married and start to have our family, and we're best friends, and everything's, good. And then, he starts to struggle. He starts to have things start to, just things show up, and, work was hard here, and things just start to get to it, struggling. He had to have all sorts of medical tests, all these difficult things. And things just started, which now I would know where things tapping on the shoulder, like, hey, there's things here. There's things that need healing. And so as he was kind of struggling, our relationship, it became really difficult because I didn't know what was going on. And then, of course, for somebody who hasn't really looked at their inner work, a lot of times, like I did, you want the other person to just change. You're like, hey, you got to fix that because that's stressing me out or whatever. And it caused a lot of stress in our relationship. And so, um, I didn't know how to help him. He got to the point where he would sleep he'd go to work, come home and sleep until the next morning. For like a year and a half, he was not okay. And it was really disabling to me, really, really scary. I didn't know what to do. And he was having, kind of a crisis of identity, a crisis of what am I, what's going on? Who am I in the world, and all these things. And so I just did what I needed to do, and I started to do my own work. I just thought, okay, this is disrupting me. And like I say, it took me some years. I wanted him to just go back to just throw all that stuff away. Let's just go back. Everything was fine. Let's just go back to where we were. And when that wasn't going to happen, I started to, you start to use all the tools you were given as a child. I had all of my religious tools, and I had all of my like cognitive tools, and they just weren't working the way that that was helping me get some relief. So, the day you buy your first crystal, or the day you take out your essential oil and say, okay, I'm willing to step out and try some of these alternative things. I remember doing a chakra meditation for the first time and realizing that helped. I had some relief. I had my first Reiki experience, and I drove away feeling like I could breathe again, like I could move forward. And so I realized that all of these tools that I myself probably would have thought they're weird, years before, now became my saving grace. And so I'm the type of person where I want to say, hey, listen, I was wrong about all of this stuff, or I didn't know about all this stuff. And so now I'm ready to tell the world, like, no, actually, there's good stuff here. So I was working with a business partner, and she had a center, like a brick and mortar center. And she talked about having a place maybe online, a version online. And so that's how we created the Wholeness Network. And so we talk about it as if it's like Netflix for wellness. So we've just got lots of videos from different guides from around the world that kind of share their wisdom, and it's just all in one place. And it's an app. You can do it online at thewholenessnetwork.com, or Wholeness app. Wholeness Library is the app that you can get from Apple or Google Play Store, and it just has all those videos there, because I just wanted to have as many tools as possible, because it was those small little tools. It was the little it was the little meditation. It was the little, chakra balance technique that got me through those hard days. And, I'll remember, and it was difficult, because my husband was like, what is happening now? Like, what are you doing now? And then one day he understood, and he kind of got it. So now he's one of my biggest helpers, and helps me with got me. He's a computer guy, so he got me the app going, and is one of my biggest cheerleaders that I really, really appreciate. And all of these tools, are supportive for him too. He uses them in a different way, but to realize, there's wisdom here. And it's not about being against anything. It's just, let's get whatever you need. I mean, that's how I felt. Like I was in such pain and suffering. I would have done anything, And so, come to find out, there was a lot for me. There was a lot available. So that's what the Wholeness Network is about, kind of wanting to share all of those nuggets. And instead of just being my own voice, I want to bring in all sorts of voices, because I think people have a way of connecting with each other in a different ways, or people have a way of saying it differently. And so we want to spread the love and share all kinds of messages. So Yeah, that's what the Wholeness Network is, and it's a membership program. It's like $5.55 a month, or it's like hardly anything, but it gives you access to all the videos, and then we do have live events like Zoom events that we host too. So and then the app is just free, and the app actually has quite a bit of content on it, even just free. So you can just download it, and we've kept free all of the stuff we have. Like, it's organized into, like, there's one section that says feel better, and it's like anxiety, depression, frenzied feeling, relationships, all of those things that we all have at one moment. It's like there's a whole list of tools. There's tapping, there's meditations, all sorts of things to like help you with whatever's showing up for you. So to me, it's about moving into it rather than trying to push it away. I've just found that as I integrate what's happening and rather than push away, I feel better. I feel healed, which actually the root word is that whole and healed are the same thing. And it's not cured necessarily. Like, I had to learn that. I really wanted to be cured in some things, have some things cured, but it was a lesson to allow for humans to have a human experience. I had this thought that, you could somehow, you didn't have to touch the ups and downs, that somehow I could be good enough that I didn't have to do that. And that's a waste of a life. There's no growth in that. So I've since just understood that wasn't ever supposed to be the plan.
I love that serendipity, because yesterday I posted a picture of me standing in front of this giant slide, and I'm like, are you riding with life? Because it is. It's like, and even a giant slide, right? You got to do all the work to get up the top, and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm still doing all this. And then you're like, whee! And then you're like, all right, that was worth it. I'm going to do it again.
Yeah.
It's just
right.
because you get the dopamine hit. But
Yeah.
life is exactly like you said. And I think the most beautiful thing someone said was, if you never experience the highs and lows, how do you appreciate the highs? Like, if you've never
Totally.
experienced the sadness, how do you know what true joy is? Like, if you don't have those contrasts and those polarities, like we were talking about, full circle back to the start, hate and love. How do you get those polarities? How do you understand that, this is making me feel so much joy, it feels truly in alignment, if you've never not felt that way? Because
Right.
we're humans, we need to go through those polarities to understand where the balance is in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah. And when we're having the difficult parts, all the more when we need to be comforting to ourselves and patient with ourselves and kind to ourselves. It's not about, at least sometimes for me, it was like, what exterior thing do I need to change to make this go away, rather than let me be with you, almost talking to this part of myself, feeling this like they're my treasured child. What do you need? How can I help you? And then it makes those downs, they're not pleasant, but we have some autonomy over those difficult things because we're with them rather than trying to get rid of them as soon as we can.
Yeah. And it's funny because we had this series of events happen yesterday in my house, and it was like extremes, like from the water filter deciding to leak all night. So we woke up with the house full of water, and then we had to get the house ready for photos, and I'm vacuuming and the vacuum dies because no one put it on the charger. And then I had to do an interview on all of that. And I'm like running around, and they're like, we just need to start. And I'm like, I'm here. And then my husband got this news, and it was just like, he's like, stuff it, let's just go out for dinner, because he's like, let's just change the energy of the day and let's just go out for dinner, because this is ridiculous. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, let's do that. And
Yeah.
we went out to dinner, and we were so happy. We came back, and it was like the reset that we needed, because it was just one of those days. And but at the same time, he's like, and he said, he's coaching me, right? You say everything happens for a reason. We've got to find the good in that. And I'm like, well, I'm really glad that, we were able to pre-mop the floor when the water filter went everywhere. But
Right.
it's that contrast, isn't it? It always comes back to, even in the crappiest things we go through, there's always a blessing there. There's always some reason why we went through that, to evolve, to learn, to grow. And when you can accept that, then it helps you move forward and evolve as a soul.
Yeah. And even if that involvement is, let's go out to dinner, let's give ourselves a break. That's a
Exactly.
huge thing. That's a huge blessing for you to say, I am going to take care of myself.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
going to
And
pamper myself, give myself a break. Yeah,
yeah,
that's,
let's go have some yummy Italian food with the owner that we love,
yeah,
you know? Yeah. So,
yeah.
um, exactly. And I feel it's such, I love that you've created this space, but where it's almost like, I got this image of like, it's almost like a big shopping mall because people can experience different snippets of different modalities. And then if they're curious, it can be enough to spark that interest to go in further. Like what you said, when you were going through your journey to create this with your husband, you know, like, oh, I was curious about chakra work because that helped me, and then I was curious about Reiki because that helped me, and you know, and that's what it comes down to is like following that curiosity and following that joy and following your intuition. Really, it's like, huh, what's
Hmm.
this? I'm gonna see. Okay,
Right.
that wasn't for me. Thank
Yeah.
you. Or wow, I want to know more. And it's
Right.
okay again to have that polarity of experiences because you know we have to. Like
Yeah.
otherwise you won't grow and you won't evolve.
Yeah, it was interesting. Yesterday, I took some time for myself, and I went to. There's a place nearby, and it's called a selenite cave,
Wow.
and it's really kind of cool. And so I decided, you know what, I kind of need to go. I need to go do that, and I'm really glad I did. And one of so I'm really visual, so I can have really
Yeah.
visual meditations and things like that. But I that was kind of the lesson I learned is that during that time when it was like, okay, let's go buy a crystal. I mean, like the sensations in my body was like, like I was like going down too big of a slide, right? It was like, it was nervous, like I was nervous, and it felt like it was just unknown to me. It was uncomfortable because I hadn't done it before, or the first time I was like, hey, it was just new for me. I just was so rigid in being able to, I didn't grow up with that. And so, and this kind of meditation, I was kind of shown, it was like, that's no matter what, newness is going to feel kind of uncomfortable at first. So we kind of move into it. And then again, like if then we learn, we keep in touch with our bodies, keep in touch with those sensations to say when it's like, oh no, this is not for me, and to not mix those two up, because sometimes it's easy to do. And I've had to really practice the difference between, no, that's not for me, and oh gosh, here we go, like this is different, and really get that nailed down. Because when I have moved myself into some discomfort in order to grow,
Yeah.
it's been a really helpful place. It's been a really helpful place, and it wasn't my first go-to. I would have thought that was the no, but that wasn't the case. And so yesterday in my cave, I was even shown, like, it's like, even if you were to have something so huge and grand happen, you think you're going to have this whole like woohoo feeling. It's
You don't.
still unknown. It's still going to show up with those similar sensations because it's different. So different and wrong aren't always the same, but sometimes it can feel that way if we're not really this attuned to ourselves and to what that really significant difference can be, and to really follow that discomfort, that other discomfort. It's done me well to move into it rather than push it away.
Yeah, and I guess it's that reminder too that our nervous system wants to stay the same, right? That's what our
Yes.
brain wants. It wants the safety and the comfort. And you know, this is where sometimes you can take a little micro risk, right? So it might be, oh, I'm just going to go into the crystal shop. And that might be enough, right? And then you walk back out. And then the next time you go, I'm going to go in and actually look at the crystals this time. And it's almost like you're wading in, right?
Yeah, you
But
can do that.
yeah. And so, you know, but even at the same time, if you're doing something really big, it's exciting, but it's still freaking scary as while you
Terrifying.
it's terrifying. But that's how you know you're on the right path. Because if there's
Right.
not that fear there, you're staying in your comfort zone because your comfort zone feels safe. But when you get that discomfort, like you said, it's because you're stepping into something new and your system just needs to take a minute to adjust and catch up. And that's okay too. You know, like
Mhm.
and then see what happens. You know, like
Yeah.
worst case, it doesn't work out. You don't like it. You can change your mind. It's okay. You know,
Right.
like even I've had clients and they've signed up for courses and they're like, my God, I can't stand it. I'm like, then why are you still doing it? I'm like, because I paid for it. It's like, it doesn't matter. If it doesn't align for you, you don't have to do it. You know, like
Right.
you don't have to stay there. You can be open to change and you can change afterwards,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Which
Yeah,
is
that's so good. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you get to
Um,
be you.
and you get to be you. Exactly. Exactly. And as we start to finish our time up together, Mechelle, I asked the guests that come on the show if you could heal or change something in the world, what would it be?
Mm, I would be that people would feel loved. That's the thing I'm always saying, because I feel like it's not just about loving people, but people have got to feel loved. And I think if people can feel loved, then everything changes. If they dare to do that, sometimes it's uncomfortable, but if you can dare to love yourself fully and unconditionally, the world changes when you do that.
Beautiful. So true. It's so true. And if people want to come and connect with you or check out we've already kind of shared a little bit where they can find your app and you, but do you want to recap for everybody where they can find you?
Yeah, you can find me everywhere. Like all of our tags are the Wholeness Network, or my own is my name, Mechelle Wingle. You can catch me on all the different platforms, but we're not on Substack yet. We're thinking about it. But yeah, and then the wholenessnetwork.com or mechellewingle.com, you can find me. But yeah, it's just, yeah, we also reach out to practitioners if they are interested in being on the network. We support, we're determined to live in an abundant place and allow all people, all of us, to rise together. That is our goal. So we
Beautiful
offer that
mission.
too.
I love it so much. And I'll make sure to include all these details in the show notes as well. But a big thank you for sharing your journey, Mechelle, and how you've created this beautiful platform for people to come together and learn more about whatever they're curious about.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Appreciate being here.
And thank you for listening to Willow Healing Matters, the podcast. We have so much love and gratitude that you have taken the time out of your day to empower you on your healing journey. The views shared by the person being interviewed might not necessarily reflect that of the host and should be used at your own discernment. Trust what resonates for you and follow your heart and soul guidance. If you have any underlying medical conditions or mental health issues, please consult with your healthcare provider before pursuing any of the recommendations. Likewise, you can always contact the person being interviewed to find out more information. This can be found in the show notes. Remember to activate, align, heal, empower, and find love in everything that you do.